So, if we have two following pieces of information, A is less than B and C is less than B, is it necessarily true that A is less than C? So this is one of these statements that's a little bit hard to wrap your head around, and I am strongly of the opinion you should draw a picture, right, or some sort of visual guide to wrap your head around things. When you're confronted with kind of a series of statements in kind of just pure mathematical notation like inequalities, it's difficult to necessarily, it's not very easy to immediately see what it's talking about. Another thing about this is it's asking about some sort of general statement, right? So we're saying if any number A is less than B and any number C is less than B, does that guarantee this statement is true, A is less than C? Now, one of two things have to happen. Either we've got to kind of demonstrate this is a statement which is true for all numbers, so we're going to have to give some sort of general argument why it's true, or we need to show it's not true for all numbers. And in that situation, you should just give a counterexample, find something that fails. So let's kind of do a little bit of a check to see what the story is saying here. So let's draw a picture to wrap our heads around what's happening. So visually what we have is the following. We've got A, let's say here, is less than B, we'll put it there. What else do we know? Well, we also know that C, so I'm going to draw it like this, C is some position. And what's the assumption? Well, the assumption is C is less than B. All right, so it's on this side. Now, that's the only requirement. We've got absolutely nothing at all beyond that. All right, this picture is completely fine. And the thing is, we can see over here, of course, C could be greater than A on this side, but just as well, it could be on this side. Totally reasonable. So by thinking about this visually for a little second, we can see, yeah, definitely, this is not true. But to be completely convinced of this, I don't want to give this silly general argument. I've used this to get a feeling for the problem. I just need to give some specific examples. So some specific examples, I could just draw anything down really. We could have this is equal to 3. We could have this is equal to 2. And I could have this is equal to 1. Right, that's going to mess things up. So the conclusion is not true, not necessarily true. For example, well, 2 is less than 3, and 1 is less than 3, of course, but we do not have, so 2 is not. So I'll write it like that. 2 is not less than 1. So this does not hold. So part of the reason I've given this example is just to make us think a little bit about how to talk about general statements. If I want to verify some general statement, either I've got to give a general argument for why it's the case, purely involving letters if you want, or we've got to give a counterexample. So this is kind of a funny example, but it's kind of good practice.